All right, people, good afternoon. Happy Monday. And given that it is Monday, it's time for some Snap Count Monday. Who got on the field? How much were they on the field? How did we mix things up? You guys know the drill by now. We have the Snap Count data from Week 6, and it's fairly interesting. Most of it, I would say, is pretty good. And it serves as, I'm going to call it a little bit encouraging for the future. So let's start with the offense here. The offense, most of this stuff was pretty predictable. With Rashad Penny out, Ken Walker got 47 snaps, which was about how many snaps Penny was getting in the 2 games before he got hurt. So Walker just has to step up and fill that role for now. DJ Dallas got most of the rest of the snaps. He had 23. So he played a decent amount. He didn't get the ball very much. He didn't do a ton, but he was definitely out there playing. And Nick Bellore got 2 snaps. Now, here's the interesting question. When Travis Homer comes back, whose snaps is he mostly going to be taking from? Does he just take all of the DJ Dallas snaps outside of like maybe 3 or 4? Or does he take some snaps from Walker and also take snaps from Dallas? Because with Penny out, this opens up an opportunity for Dallas to maybe get on the field more, unless we just decide to go two-headed monster with Walker and Homer. And I don't know what the solution there is. Obviously, Dallas is not as good as Homer, but he can do some things. He's not completely worthless out there. And I don't want to see Walker get used too much right now. I don't. I want to be a little bit cautious with that. He's playing well. Honestly, I think at some point in that game yesterday, he did get hurt. And I'd rather not continue to risk it if we don't need to. So when Homer gets back, which I think is going to be a couple weeks from now, I'd really like to see him and Dallas spell Walker a non-trivial amount. But for this game, Walker gets 47 snaps, Dallas gets 23, Bellore gets 2. So no Tony Jones. He was, I believe, active, but we never had to use him. Wide receiver, we saw quite a few snaps with 1 or no receivers on the field. Metcalf and Lockett had 55 snaps each out of 68 total. So 55 out of 68, that means you have quite a few snaps where you have either 0 or 1 receiver on the field, which is interesting. Here's another interesting thing. Goodwin had 31 snaps, and Eskridge, with one of his best days as a pro, maybe his best day as a pro, had 13 snaps. So on 13 snaps, Eskridge had 3 catches. So that's a very encouraging sign for him. But Goodwin remains the guy that we use more in those 3 receiver sets. Derek Young had 3 snaps. He was the only other receiver who saw the field at all. And Penny Hart was out with the injury, of course, so he didn't get to play. And we did not call up Bo Melton or Cade Johnson or anybody like that yet, so they're not here yet. Tight end, staying on schedule, basically. Disley had 44, Fant had 43, Parkinson had 24. So Disley and Fant are out there for about 65% of the snaps. Parkinson's getting out there for about a third of the snaps. And they're all finding ways to be productive. They're all finding ways to be useful. Parkinson was not very efficient on his targets today, but I think a big reason for that was the pressure that Arizona was putting on us, and Gino on many plays was just kind of forced to just quickly chuck it out to an eligible receiver just to get the ball out of his hands. And there was some inaccuracy, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I appreciated the fact that we got all of our tight ends involved at least somewhat, and they continue to all provide value to this team. That's really about it for the offense. Pretty simple day. Nothing super compelling. The main thing for me is just this running back question. What are we going to do when Homer gets back? Going over to the defense now, we had 71 total snaps, so it was almost equal. We had 68 snaps on offense, 71 on defense. That's good. That's a positive sign. I like that. Let's keep that up. Defensive line, the rotation was pretty good. Nobody played more than 45 snaps, and that was with Al Woods being out. So that's good. And also, I didn't notice a lot of two-man fronts. Off the top of my head, I'm going to have to rewatch the game to be sure, because, no, I'm just going to say it, my brother and his wife were in town yesterday, so We were doing some stuff with them, so I didn't have my full focus on the game at all times, but I didn't notice a lot of two-man fronts personally. So I'm going to have to review that to make sure I'm correct there, but that was very encouraging to me. And despite that, we were able to mix things up a lot. Poona Ford, 40 snaps, had his best game of the year by far. Brian Monet had his best game of the year by far, 36. Shelby Harris seemed to play pretty good, 44 snaps. Quentin Jefferson played well, 39 snaps. Miles Adams, who, by the way, may have saved a touchdown on the Zach Ertz play, where he's scrambling onto the field and then he just kind of, I don't know if he was planning it as he was running onto the field or not, just turns and just chucks Zach Ertz off his route. I don't know if that was his plan on the play or what, but 21 snaps, and he seemed to do all right overall. So, good game from the defensive line, and it was a pretty good... It seems like we've got the rotations on that defensive line pretty good for most of the year, honestly. But in this game, they actually played well. Edge rusher, we saw a clear divergence for our two starters. Nwosu played a huge chunk of the game, 59 snaps, so only missed 12 snaps, which not necessarily ideal, but right now it's just kind of what we have to do because we have some guys out. And Darrell Taylor became borderline situational. He played about half the game. And if this is what needs to happen for Darrell Taylor to be an effective player, then so be it. If he needs to just play like 50 to 55% of the snaps and just be like a situational pass rusher, I think that's probably, you got to go with it. You got to put him on the field and pass on passing downs only because he played much better. It wasn't just the sack. It wasn't just the strip sack. It was other plays as well. I didn't notice him do anything over the top bad out there on Sunday. So big step in the right direction for Taylor. Mafe had almost as many snaps as Taylor. He had 36. So I guess this is just going to have to be the formula. Mafe plays running downs. Taylor plays passing downs. And Nwosu, when Alton gets back and maybe Darryl Johnson, he can start to get spelled a little bit. For the moment, he's just going to have to play a lot. I'm definitely not thrilled about that. I don't think that's great for him. But it is what we need right now. And he's playing great. It's not like he's being robbed of effectiveness because he's getting worn out yet. So we can deal with it. And Christian Jones played 10 snaps. He seemed to actually play okay. So good for him. But hopefully soon we've got some guys in front of him back. And Christian Jones can probably not even be on the roster in a few weeks from now. That's kind of what I'm hoping. Inside linebacker, Jordan Brooks played every snap and played a better game for sure, I think. I believe he played better in this game than he did in the previous few. Cody Barton saw his playing time reduced to basically spot duty, 28 snaps out of 71. So he went from a guy who was playing almost every down when the season started to a guy who has seen his playing time gradually fall off to this point where he basically gets out there because he has to. And our defense was much better for it. Barton made that one big play against the Broncos in week 1 to save the game, I believe. I believe that play basically decided that game. And since then, it's just been the Cody Barton that we were kind of afraid we were getting. So whatever we did, and I understand that Arizona is a unique matchup that allowed us to get Barton off the field more in favor of defensive backs. But we need to do whatever we need to do to force this going forward. Barton needs to play maybe 35% of the snaps just because we need another linebacker out there sometimes. But as often as you can, get him off. And you get them off by putting your cornerbacks and safeties out there more. You get them off by putting more defensive backs on the field. So in this game, you can see that Tariq Woolen played every snap. Michael Jackson and Sidney Jones were like a platoon on the other side. Michael played 60, Sidney Jones played 11. Added up, you get 71. I think Sidney Jones got on the field for a few drives, but Michael Jackson was playing really well. So he got to stay out there a majority of the time. I think he's having a really nice season, kind of under the radar here because of what Tariq is doing. People aren't paying as much attention to it, but it's really good. And I think that this is a winning combination. So you've got Kobe Bryant playing 53 snaps, so he was on the field a lot. A lot of nickel looks, which is something that's going to help keep Barton off the field a little bit. 53 snaps from him, and he probably had his best game as a pro. The forced fumble is one thing, but I thought he played well in coverage as well. I think we've got something here. And look, I still think he's playing out of position, but if he can succeed playing out of position for the rest of the year, then that's kind of an encouraging sign for the future, right? Because if you move him back to the outside where I think he belongs, then, wow, you've got yourself a winner. And then you had Ryan Neal play every snap. Again, he's playing safety right now, which he's our best option there right now. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. He needs to do it. But hopefully at some point later this year, and you'd probably have to make a trade to make it happen, you can see him play dime corner, because I do believe that is his best position. But if it means keeping Josh Jones off the field as much as possible, you got to go with it. So, yeah. Again, Ryan Neal is playing, so is Quandre Diggs. He played every snap. And you did see a decent chunk of Josh Jones, 23 snaps. So he's still finding his way to get on the field every now and then. When you're playing a team like the Cardinals, you're going to go heavy defensive back a lot. I think that's a big part of what you saw out there on Sunday. And that's why we had success. Get Cody Barton off the field as much as possible. Put your defensive backs out there because, I mean, the defensive backs are playing pretty well right now. I know people are a little hard on Quandre, and he is missing tackles, and it is frustrating. But I don't think Quandre is doing anything over the top terrible. He's just missing some tackles, and he's not making splash plays. He's still, at the very least, I look at the body of work over this season, I'd still say you're getting a decent player. Just not worth the money right now. But I believe that stuff can come as the season goes on. And, by the way, no Justin Coleman in this game, even though he was healthy. Kind of interesting. And that's it for Snap Count Monday. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks.